Viewer discretion advised. This series contains horror scenes that are meant to give you paranoia and keep a lingering feeling that you aren't alone. As you read throughout the books, make sure you remember that everything has meaning, and it was your choice to keep moving forward. Please don't go. July 13th. Breathe in that fresh woodland air, Tommy says. He finally got off work good from his job as a police officer, so he decided to take his son out camping. Sure, he's 17 and doesn't like his father, but that's fine. What do you think, Mills? I told you not to call me that anymore, Millard says, annoyed. What's even the point of coming out here? To get away from all the city folks. That's why. We live in a town already surrounded by nature. Everyone has a mini forest in their backyard. But this is a big forest, and it's all to ourselves. A mosquito lands on Tommy's neck, and apparently the bugs too. Who would have guessed we would find nature in nature? Whoa. Millard walks past his dad and down to the path in front of them. Tommy douses himself in more bug spray as he follows. The dirt path winds up and down the forest, over a creek, and through a pair of two beautiful oak trees. Tommy stops numerous times to take pictures of the scenery, but he forces himself to keep going so they make it to the campsite on time. They eventually get there. The camp area is flat and cleared of any rocks that could cause back pain in the morning. Do you need help setting up the tents? Tommy takes his bag off and pulls out a small tent. I'll do my own tent, Millard says. Alrighty. Tommy begins sliding the poles through and arching the tent upwards. Tommy went to camping all the time when he was a kid, and his wife loved it too before she died. Before Tommy finishes the tent, his hands freeze as he remembers what happened 2 years ago. His sweet daughter and wife both died in a car crash. But why worry about the past now? He's camping with his son. Tommy puts a smile back on and finishes the tent. He looks over at Millard, who is struggling a lot with his. He can barely get the poles through. Don't say anything, Millard says, low and annoyed. If you need me, just holler. I'm going to get some wood for a fire tonight. Tommy prevents himself from chuckling and walks into the forest. There are some good logs for the base of the fire, and some twigs that can help keep it burning. When he gets back, Millard has a pulse through, but can't figure out how to get the tent upwards. Need help? I got it. Millard snaps and struggles some more. Alrighty. Tommy looks at the soon-to-be setting sun. He goes over to the hole in the ground that has been used by previous campers and sets up a fire inside of it. He doesn't light it yet, but it's ready, and the sun is resting on the horizon like a golden ball waiting to roll off the side of a table. He looks back and sees his son finally finish the tent, at least finish enough to have something to sleep in. Good job, kiddo. I'm not a kid, but thanks. Millard crosses his arms and boasts. So, what's for dinner? Hot dogs. Tommy goes into his bag and pulls out a new pack of hot dogs ready to be roasted over a fire. Do you know how to start a fire? Not anymore. Here, I'll remind you. Tommy goes in his bag and pulls out a fire starting kit. It has a flint and steel and some fire starters. First, you put the fire starters under the things you want to catch fire and grind the flint and steel like this. Tommy places the fire starters under some twigs and slides the steel across the flint. A few sparks flew, but Tommy made sure that day he didn't start the fire on purpose. You try. Miller takes the flint and steel and slides them across each other. A spark flies out, but not big enough to start anything. He tries again, putting more power and faster to get similar results. Try shooting it at the fire, like flicking it, Tommy says, trying to help. I got it. Miller does it again and gains a few more sparks, getting closer to lighting it. He goes one more time, and a spark lands on the fire starters, catching it on fire. See? Good job. Tommy rubs his son's head. The fire starters go pretty quickly, but they do their job, and after a few minutes the entire hole is a memorizing fire pit. Alright, let's eat. Tommy opens up the hot dogs and stabs one of them with his skewer. Thanks, Millard says, taking the hot dogs from his dad. They begin cooking them over the fire and watch as the flames dance around their food. Have you been enjoying summer break so far? Tommy asks, trying to break the silence. It's only been 4 weeks of summer, Millard says. So, is that a no? No, it's just been a short summer so far. I've been enjoying playing games, but for some reason Carlos isn't responding to my messages. Panic crosses Tommy's mind. He knows why Carlos hasn't been responding, but doesn't want to tell Millard. That's weird. I'm sure he's just been busy. For 3 weeks? Doesn't sound like him to not respond at all. Just give it some time and I'm sure he'll explain himself. Anyways, what kind of plans do you have for summer? Tommy desperately wants the subject to change. He isn't a good liar. Not really. Just plan on being in my room and playing games. Maybe I'll go on a few runs, but I got nothing. I'll go on some runs with you. I've been meaning to work on my cardio lately. I now no longer want to go on runs. Oh, come on. Do you really hate being around me that much? No, I just don't like the fact that you feel the desperate need to protect me all the time. I want to go on a run because I need to get my cardio back, not to protect you. You joined the police so things like Mom don't happen again. Millard's voice freezes. You're right. Instead of snapping at Millard like how he probably should, Tommy is quiet. I joined the police force so people could be safer, that nobody got killed because of others' incompetence. So I'm sorry if I want to protect the last little bit of family I have left. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be rude. Millard matches his dad's voice, and they both finish cooking and eating their hot dogs in silence. By the time they are done, the sun is down, and they have finished their dinner. In a little bit, we can roast marshmallows if you want. Tommy leans back and looks at the starry sky. Sure, but first I'm going to go pee. Millard gets up and walks into the dark woods. Don't get lost, Tommy calls out as his son disappears from the campfire's light. The night sky looks beautiful tonight. The stars glisten upon the cool midnight breeze, shining in ways that you could never know about in town. This kind of view is probably why Tommy loved camping so much. Millard comes back shivering. It is unbelievably cold without that fire, Millard says through chattering teeth. That's weird. The weather said it would be a bit chilly tonight, but not that cold. Then again, when has the weatherman been right? Tommy shrugs his shoulders. This is why we packed extra blankets. Millard sits down by the fire and rubs his hands together to get warmer. Can you get me an extra blanket? Sure. Tommy turns around and goes into Millard's bag to get a blanket. He opens the bag and finds them. Here you go. Thanks. He takes a blanket and wraps himself with it. Much better. Once the fire is out, we should head to bed. The fire isn't getting close to going out, but Tommy gives it another 2 hours tops. Alright, I'll be back in an hour maybe. I heard of a clearing nearby where I can see the stars better. Tommy grabs a flashlight and walks into the forest. He has to go off trail a little bit, but it doesn't take him long to find the spot. A massive open field is in front of him, only lit by the stars and the moon above. Tommy feels a wave of nostalgia. He got married in a similar field. It was a late picnic date, and as the two of them looked at the stars, he proposed. It was the happiest day of his life. Despite the event ending 2 years ago, he still feels like a piece of him is missing. He would do anything for his daughter and wife back. A tear rolls down his face as he collapses to the ground. He quickly sniffs it back up and smiles, knowing that they are in a better place. Tommy stays out longer than he meant to and quickly goes back to the campsite. Sorry it took me so long, Tommy says. The light of the campfire begins to flicker out. Dad? Miller's voice is small and shallow. Don't move. Millard hasn't moved yet and is just staring at the remains of the fire. Why? What's going on? The man walked by, but he didn't look normal. That seems a bit rude. Tommy takes another step forward. No, he was taller than you and blended in with the shadows of the forest perfectly, almost like he was just a face in the woods. Tommy froze. That's almost the exact description Maggie gave of what killed her brother. It was originally blown off because she woke up from a concussion and probably wasn't remembering right, but this? Miller didn't even know about Carlos' death, so how would he know about that? Millard? Where did he go? Tommy's voice is quiet, trying to remain calm. He walked right through camp and in the direction you went. Just then, Tommy felt the cold press of a hand wrap around his wrist. The grip wasn't tight just yet, and he jumped forward, rolling to the side to see what had grabbed him. It was a man grinning with rows of teeth and white eyes staring, not at Tommy, but through him. Tommy scrambles to his bag and pulls out a flare gun. He brought it in the worst case scenario, but didn't think this was what that would be. Tommy pulls the trigger, and the flare connected with the creature. The flare itself didn't stop it, but the sizzling sound brought it to its knees. Run! Tommy shouts. He gets up and turns tail to run. Millard is close behind. The creature lashes a hand out, swiping at Millard's leg. Gah! Millard falls to the ground and screams in pain. The creature is no longer on its knees and wraps his hand around Millard's body. Dad! Help! Please! Tears filled Millard's voice, and the sound of his pleas felt so unreal to Tommy. It had been years since he had ever heard his son ask for help. None of this felt real. Without thinking, Tommy raised his gun and fired another shot. Let go of my son! Tommy pulled the trigger, and the creature used Millard as a shield, making his head light up and drown out the sound. Millard floats in the air for a moment before going above the creature. His jaws break open, allowing Millard to go inside the creature. It strikes fear in Tommy. He wants to stay and fight, but his body runs. There are more weapons in the car, Tommy reassures himself. The flashlight he is holding barely lights anything up with all the shaking he's doing, but he finally gets to the car. Need reinforcements. Tommy checked his pockets, but he left his phone at camp. He checks the rearview mirror and sees the creature standing behind the car. He turns it on and begins driving as fast as he can and hopes it won't catch up. Where are we going, Dad? Tommy Starter's voice says from behind. Tommy turns around and sees sweet Petunia sitting there. Can you slow down, hon? Tommy's wife says, placing a cold hand on his arm. Tommy shakingly turns to see his wife sitting shotgun with fear in her eyes. No, you both died in a car crash. Tommy's voice is shaking more than he can control. This isn't real. Just like how you left me? Miller's voice is agitated, almost like it's booming through a speaker in front of him. Tommy remembers he's driving, foot fully on the pedal, and sees his son on the hood of the car. His mouth is holding the flare as his eyes and ears crackle with light. None of this is real! Tommy screams before hearing the honk of another car driving towards him.